Okay, let's start the class. Maybe we took the attendance. Okay, so last time we talked about simple interest, right? Does anybody remember simple interest? What is a simple interest?
You can see our
Oh, what is it?
I equals PRT.
I is equal to PRT. What is I?
Interest.
That's interest, right? So that is interest. How about P? Principal, how much you're putting in or how much you're borrowing, okay? R,
Rate.
rate of
Change.
interest, right? How about T? Time. Usually we have annual interest, so we're gonna see how many times a year you are paying it or you are getting it, right? So we are thinking about this as a year. Okay, and we also talked about how we count the days. How many days per month?
30.
We just say 30 days, right? And how many months are in a year?
12.
12 months. So how many days are per year?
360.
360 per year. Yeah, that's what we talked about, right? Okay, pretty good. So this is very important. I is equal to PRT. We just say it's just interest. PRT is just interest. So for example, if you have borrowed $100,
Just so you know, it's not on the big screen.
oh, thank you. No, you go. Okay, so if you have borrowed $100, you loaned $100, so that becomes a principal, right? And let's say interest rate is, let's say R is 2%, 2.2. And the time, let's say you are borrowing that for 3 years, for instance, okay? Then how much do you have to pay back after 3 years? How much do you have to pay back after 3 years? Everyone,
Principal plus interest.
say it louder.
The principal and the interest.
Exactly. Principal plus interest is how much you have to pay back, right? You're not just paying back interest, you're not just paying the principal, you need to pay both of them, right? So remember that. The principal doesn't change, it's still $100. What is the interest? PRT, 100 times 0.2, which is 2 times 3, $6. That will be how much you are paying for at the end, right? Okay, so keeping that in mind, when we are moving on to compound interest, we're gonna talk about different formula, which talk about the total amount. So we're gonna talk about the total amount in the compound interest, okay? So in simple interest, we just talked about interest formula there, okay? So keep that in mind. Okay, pretty good. So we didn't finish simple interest last time. We have a banker's rule here. So I'm gonna give you this sheet of paper because the letter is too tiny. Yes, a minute. Okay, so you got the banker's rule table here. Okay, so remember 1 year we said 360 days, and if you are given a problem here, let's determine. We need to learn how to read this first. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna count how many days their total is out of 360 days. Okay, so for example, if you made a loan on the April 7th. So when you're looking at, let me actually bring this up here. Okay, so April is right here on your paper. Do you see that, April? And the seventh day, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7. So April 7th day is 97, right? So mark it off. It's already marked off here with red color. And next question is what? And for 180 days. For 180 days. So from 97, if you are adding 100 days, 180 days, what's the answer? 97 plus 180. 180. 277, right? So if you go to 277, that is marked off here with blue color, 277, what date is that? October 4th. So October 4th is exactly 180 days after you have loaned on April 7th. Okay, so that's how you're using this data. Okay. The second problem I'm asking you is the number of days from March 15th to November 18th. March 15th to November 18th. So use your pen or pencil to find March 15th and November 18th. So March 15th, what does it say? What number does it say? March 15th.
74.
74. How about November 18th? 322. So how many days has passed since March 15th until November 18th? How do you find how many days has passed? You can just find the difference, right? By subtracting 74 from 322. So how many days? 278? 248 days. Okay, so that's how you're using that. Okay, so using the same thing, we're gonna do some work here. Using the banker's rule, determine the simple interest that will be paid on a $2,700 loan at an interest rate of 2% for the period of March 15 to November 18. How can we find this? We already know how to use PRT, that is interest rate, right? So using that, let's take a look. So I is equal to PRT. Interest is principal times rate times time. What is the principal here? How much
27.
loan is being, 2,700. And what is the rate? 2%, which is 0.02, right? And the time, March 15 to November 18, how many days did you say?
248.
248. But this is, yes, this is annual interest. So we need to divide this by 360. We are counting a year as 360 days. So we found the time using banker's loan. Okay? Okay, so calculate that. What do you get? Why is that appearing here? Okay, so if we are multiplying that, you're gonna get $37.20. $37.20. So you know how to use this banker's loan table, right? It just tells you how many days has passed. Good? Okay, so you will be able to solve all the problems for your homework. Okay, again, remember simple interest formula, this is for interest. That is PRT. Remember that. Okay, and then let's move on to section 3. So compound interest. Compared to simple interest, it's gonna be a little bit more complicated. Okay. Just like the simple interest, we need to learn some vocabulary here. So investment, we all know what investment means, right? What is investment?
Putting money into something.
Yeah, you put money to make more money actually, right? So what are some examples of investment?
Stocks.
Stocks,
Betting.
betting, a little bit dangerous, but yeah, risky, but
Businesses.
What else?
A business.
The business, okay. You can buy a property and rent it. Those things can be investment too, right? Or you can just put it in the bank account, and when you get a job, there will be like 401k or like retirement plan, things like that. They can be really good investment too. There are fixed investment and variable investment. As you can see only these words, fixed investment, something is fixed. Variable investment, something is changing, right? We can get some, sense of that. So fixed investment is amount invested as a principal is guaranteed. So how much ever you're putting in, definitely get the money back. So you can already have the sense that stock, it changes, right? So stock is not fixed investment because it changes, and it cannot guarantee you that you can have how much ever you put in. You can have much more, but you can have much less than that too, right? So that is variable investment. Yeah, so fixed investment is amount invested as a principal. It's guaranteed, and the interest is computed at a fixed rate. For example, savings account. So definitely you get some money, right? You get whatever put in plus some interest. Money market deposit account, certificate of deposit CD, we call it CD, right? So those are good examples of fixed investment. What does guaranteed mean? You will definitely get that, right? So the exact amount invested will be paid back together with an accumulated interest. Unlike fixed investment, variable investment, neither the principal nor the interest is guaranteed. If your stock is really bad, you will not get back how much ever you put in. Mutual funds, same thing, commercial bonds, so things like that, they are variable investment. Okay. Compound interest is what we are interested in this section. So that interest is computed on the principal and any accumulated interest. So principal here is changing. Okay, so I will give you a little bit sense of that. So let's suppose that $5,000 is invested. Put yourself in the situation, okay? So you can think about this a little bit better. Okay. So you have $5,000 and you want to invest that money for 3 years at 8%. Okay, first we know how much we will get using simple interest. Let's think about the simple interest. Okay. So we know I is equal to PRT. What's the principal? 5,000 or 8% or 0.08 time 3 years to 3, right? Okay. If you multiply it together, what do you get? Anybody?
1,200.
1,200? That's simply just the interest, right? So how much would you get as the total amount? 5,000 and $6,200. Yes, 1,200. So 6,200 is how much you will get at the end of 3 years, right? So that's a simple interest. Now let's think about compound interest. Okay, so if you're using compound interest, I'm not giving you the formula yet. Okay, so think about after 1 year, how much will be the money I'm getting? So, what is it?
400.
400 is the interest?
That's the interest, so you get 54.
Awesome. So I is equal to 5,000 times same interest rate, 0.08 in 1 year. So yeah, it is 400, right? Or you can say that, oh, for 3 years, 1,200, then 1 year, 400. So either way, you're gonna get the same answer. After 1 year, your interest is $400. So how much would you get after 1 year? 5,400, right? So 5,400 after 1 year. Now, after 2 years, we are using compound interest. So this amount will become our new principal. Okay, that's a compound interest. So I is equal to what? 5,400 will be your new principal. We still have the same interest rate and we have only 1 year. What does that tell us? What does that give us?
432.
432?
32. Yeah.
So that is just a simple interest, right?
Yeah.
So how much will I get?
58, 32.
Yeah, so 5,400 plus 432, which will be 5,832, right? And for the third year, that becomes your new principal. You keep compounding the amount, right? Do you see that? So after 3 years, we can see that our interest rate should be, interest is what? 5,832 times 0.08 times 1 year. What is that number?
466 and 56 cents.
66 and 60,
56 cents.
56? Yeah, thank you. So that becomes your new interest after 3 years. So total amount after 3 years is what? 5,832 plus that interest.
$6,298. Did Terry tell you that?
Say that again.
$6,298 and 56 cents.
56 cents. Okay, thank you. So after 3 years, this will be your compounded amount of money you are getting. If you have 10 years, you have to keep doing this again and again and again. Oh my God, it's so time consuming, right? So we're gonna use our formula here, okay? So instead of giving you I is equal to something, we're gonna talk about total amount for compound interest, okay? So you're gonna get the formula here. But before we move on to that one, let's compare these two. So when you have the simple interest with exactly same principal and exactly same rate and exactly same year, the time, we have a different amount, right? If you are using the simple interest, you got $6,200. If you are using compound interest, you got $6,298.56. Which one is better? If you are investing, which one? Yeah, exactly. Compound interest is giving you more money, right? What if you are lending money? Simple interest will be better. So you can be smarter by comparing those two things, right? So why compound interest gives you more money?
Because your principal keeps going up.
Exactly, because we are accumulating the numbers and our principal is going bigger and bigger, right? So we will get a little bit more. So think about it after like 10 years. That's gonna be a big difference, right? So think about when you're borrowing the money, which is better?
Simple.
Simple interest. If you are lending the money to get back, yeah, if you're investing, compound interest should be better. Okay, so we can get the sense of that. Awesome. Okay. Okay, so here is the compound interest formula. Can you write it down? A is what? The total amount, okay? We're not talking about this interest there, the total amount. P is, of course, principal, and 1 is 1. Plus R is what? Rate of interest. N is how many times a year you are getting it or paying it, okay? So how many times, number of times per year. Same number here, okay? Same number goes here, and T is number of years. Okay, so take a look at this one. If we are doing some work here, well, you have NT to the power here, so it's gonna be a little bit different. But if you think about this as just 1 year and 1 time, P times 1 becomes P. So we are adding principal and the interest. So you can take a look at that here. Okay, so thinking about 1 year with 1 time annually investment, it's gonna be that 1 plus tells you how much principal you are getting back, and this will tell you how much interest is added to it. Okay, so remember this formula is the total amount, not just interest. Okay, so using this formula, you can solve all of these problems. So I'm gonna give you some examples. Okay, here we go. Kathy invested $3,000 in a savings account. For example, in here, okay, you invested $3,000 in a savings account with an interest rate of 1.8% compounded monthly. If Kathy makes no other deposits into this account, determine the amount in the savings account after 2 years. It's asking you the total amount. So you can just use our compound interest formula. You just need to know what you need to put in for each of these variables. So let's practice this together. We are finding total amount A. What is our principal? 3,000. 1 plus, what is interest rate R? 1.8%, which is 0.018 over how many times per year? It says this is monthly. So how many times? 12 times. Because each month you have to pay that. Or you get the interest, right? 12 times. Okay, so that N is still 12 for how many years? T after 2 years. So T is 2. Does it make sense? Okay. If I say not monthly, how about semi-annually? What will become that N? 2. Semi-annually, you pay twice, you get paid twice a year. If I say quarterly, how many times? 4 times, so N becomes 4. Does it make sense? Okay. So it says monthly, which means you get paid interest for 12 times a year, every month. Okay. Now you can just use the calculator. So 1 plus 1 is 12 over 12, so 12.018 over 12 times 24. Okay. So what do you get? I have numbers here. That's about 3,109.88 cents. Okay? Okay? All right. Now, try this one. Wait, it's changing. Okay, I want everybody to solve this and let me know. Shall we repeat the formula one more time? A is equal to what? 1 plus R over N holding to the NT power. Okay, so, oh, where did the P go? Right? Okay, so calculate the interest. Oh, this time you need to calculate the interest. Remember, this is total amount. So how can we find the interest then? Interest. PRT is for simple interest, but we are doing the compound interest. So this A means after certain years, how much you are getting as a total. So principal plus interest, right? So to find just interest, you can subtract how much you invested from the total amount you are getting. And that tells you how much interest you earned. Does it make sense? Yes. So let's find the A first. Principal, 3,000. 1 plus, what's the interest rate? 4%, 0.04. How many times? It says semi-annually. So N should be 2. Awesome. 2. So we have 2 times for how many years? 7. 2 times 7. So everybody got this one? Okay. Now if you have your phone, you can take it out. You can use your phone for only to use the calculator function. So find this and tell me what you got. If your answer is smaller than 3,000, something wrong. Something really wrong. Okay. What did you get? How about we actually practice using our calculators, because during the test you will be using this calculator, right? Let's mark on the test. When you're using this calculator, you need to think about the order of operation. Try to use this one. So what would you do first? Parenthesis, right? So do 2.04 divided by 2 first. What do you get? 1.02. And you need to do that to the 14th power. So do you see Y to the X button on your calculator? Press that and put 14 there. So what do you get? So that's what we have here. Now you need to multiply that by 3,000, right? Multiply that by 3,000. You will get you will get 3,958.4363 right? Everybody got the same number? Okay, so that is the total amount you will get after 7 years, right? But you invested actually $3,000. So what is the interest then? The difference between those two, right? We can do this. Let's approximate this as money. So you have 3,958.44. 44 minus principal, how much you invested. That gives you the interest. Make sense? Okay. Any questions so far? Righty, sounds good. So try this one. This is a little bit different story that we are doing here now. So if you are investing only $1 and 4% compounded semi-annually for 1 year, it's kind of an easy number, isn't it? Why are we doing that? Because we're going to talk about different concepts. Okay, so we are still doing the compound interest, okay? Compound interest. So what is the total amount using our formula? P times, tell me P times what?
1
Plus
R divided by N.
R over N,
NG.
and T power, awesome. And what is our principal here? How much are we investing? $1. 1 plus what's R? 0.04, 4% over N. How many times? Semi-annually, twice. 2 times, how many year? 1 year. So very simple. We have 1 times 1 plus 0.04 divided by 2, 0.02 over 2 power. This is 1 times 1.02 to the 2 power. And what do we get? 1.02 to the 1 power. Let's use our calculator. 1.02 squared is equal to 1.040. Right? That's what you got. Okay, so this one tells you how much is the interest. What's the interest? Yeah, you need to subtract $1 because that's how much you invested at the beginning, right? So what do we get? 0.404. That's how much interest you got. Using $1 and 4% semi-annually for 1 year, right? If we are saying this to the percentage, what does the percentage? It's a 40% for 40.4%. We call this as annual yield percentage of annual yield. Okay, so here effective annual yield or annual percentage yield. Either way, it's telling you. What does that tell you? That tells you the difference between whether you are investing with simple interest or compound interest. Okay, so if we are doing the exactly same thing using the simple interest, let's think about that. Simple interest. The I is equal to PRT. What is PRT? Principal is $1. We set up 4%, 0.04, and time just 1 year. So what's that? 0.04, right? So if you are using the simple interest, you're just gonna have 40%, right? But if you're using the compound interest, you're gonna have 40.4%. So you can simply compare this compound interest with simple interest. If you think about principal as $1 and for 1 year, you can simply compare those two things. So by just looking at these numbers, we can compare which one is better interest. You can just multiply the principal to this. So this is for $1 as a principal. If you're thinking about $100 as the principal, it's gonna be a big difference because you're gonna get $40. What is that? So this is 0.44. So $4.04 will be your money. Let's do a lot more money. So let's say you are investing $10,000. So then you're gonna have what's that? this is how much interest you are getting, right? But if we are using simple interest with $10,000 with 4%, you're just gonna get $4,000. So there's already $40 big difference, right? So effective annual yield will tell you, how effective it is compared to the simple interest. Okay, because we are thinking about only $1 as the principal and 1 year as the time. Okay, so effective annual yield or annual percentage yield is the simple interest rate that gives the same amount of interest as the compound rate over the same period of time. Okay, so I don't know if the question on your homework will ask you things like that or not, but that's something that is interesting. So let's consider these examples. Can you find out annual percentage yield or the effective annual yield or $1 invested for 1 year at the following interest rates? You can round your answers to the nearest 100%. So what we are doing here is you want to find the interest, not the total amount A. So for example, I will do the first one with you, and we're going to do the next ones. Let me clear this up. Okay. So let's look at the first one, 2% compounded quarterly. So we know N is equal to P times 1 plus R over N to the NT. What is P? $1. So 1 times da 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 da, it's still itself, so you don't have to even write it. R, what is interest rate there? 2%, so 0.02. Compounded quarterly, so N is 4. And it's still 1 year, so 4 times 1 is 4. What do you get? 0.02 divided by 4, 0.05? The fourth? So use your calculator this. 1.0025 to the 4th power. Okay, what do you get? Use your blue calculator. 1.005 to the 4th power. Tell me what you got?
1.020155.
Yes, I got the same number too. So you're gonna round this to the nearest 100th of a percent. So let's change this to the percentage first. To change that to percentage, you can multiply this by 100, right? So we have 102.01505 percent, but let's round this to the 100th. So this is 10. This is 100. I'm looking at the next digit, which is greater than or equal to 5. What do you need to do? Round up, round down. Round up. So it becomes 2, right? So that is about 102.02%. You got that? Okay. Now, let's do 3% compounded monthly. Compounded monthly. How about you guys solve this one? You got that? Got it? Okay, so help me out. So principal is 1 plus R. R is 3%, 0.3. How many times? 12. So 12 times 1 is 12. And what did you get here? 1.0.
Get clear, that's 0025. I think she wants it.
Yeah, let's do that again. Hold on, 0.03 divided by 12. That's 1. 14 to the 12th power. We got 1.03, 4416. Yeah, it shows only 16 because it's programmed that way, but therefore, yeah, going to the after decimal points. Okay, going on. So this is how much you are getting. Oh, this shouldn't be the percentage yet. I made a mistake there because that's only how much you are getting here, right? This is how much you are getting, and that's how much you are getting using the different interest rate there, right? Okay, so from there, what we need to find out is APR. So annual percent, effective annual percentage, or effective annual percentage rate is when you are taking away the principal, because this includes principal and the interest, right? So by looking at only the interest here, you need to subtract $1 that you invested at the beginning. So you're actually getting 0.02010505 here, right? Same here. If you are looking at only the interest, you need to take away $1, so you get 0.030416 . To find the APR, you can just multiply this by 100%. So what do we get? Move that to two decimal points, so 2.015, or if you round it, it's gonna be about 2.02%. Same here. If you change this to percentage, you're gonna move the two decimal points and you get 3.0416. For rounding that up or down, by rounding that, you're gonna have 3.04. The 1 is less than 5, so you need to round it down. So you get 3.04 or 2.02. Make sense? So you can compare those two easily and think about, oh, both are compound interest, but I can say that if I invest, this will give me more money because it has better interest rate. This will give me less money because it has less interest rate there. Okay, that's why we are doing this one. Okay, so that is it for our compound interest, I believe. So let's see if I have more. Ah, more actually. Present value. Present value is not really hard at all. So what it means is this. How about we read this first? And let's see if we understand this or not. So you may wonder about what amount of money you must deposit in an account today to have a certain amount of money in the future. For example, how much must you deposit in an account today at a given rate of interest so that it will accumulate to $25,000 to pay your child college costs in 4 years, things like that. So you're gonna find what P is. So let's consider some different example. Let's suppose you wanna buy a car. And how much is the car usually if you are buying this car? let's suppose, I don't know, 100,000. Let's say you want to make $100,000 after 4 years. Okay? And you are free some money. You don't know how much money you need to put in. But the bank says we have a fixed interest rate there. So using that amount and using compound interest, we know how to do that. We are fixing this number because that's the amount of money that I'm gonna get. So A is this time fixed. So you wanna make $100,000. Do we know the principle? No, we don't know how much money I wanna put in. That is the present value. Okay, the principle is present value. And we have fixed rate, whatever the bank is saying. And we have, semi-annually or quarterly, it's gonna be given to us too. So everything else is given except present value principle. So we are finding what principle is. So using this formula, we're just gonna solve for P. So using this one, I will show you how to do that. Okay. I'm tired. I hear a lot of sigh. Why? 1 plus R over N, because it's Friday. Okay, so let's solve for P. Take a look. P is multiplied by these numbers, right? So just to solve for P, what can we do? We can divide everything by this number, because it's multiplied. R over N to the NT. Do the same thing on the left-hand side. So divide that by 1 plus R over N to the NT power. Then this will be cancelled out and you're gonna leave only P there. So here's another formula. You don't have to remember because you already know A is equal to P times 1 plus R over N moving to the NT power. Using that, divide both by this one, you're gonna get present value is A over 1 plus R over N to the NT power. Okay, you can simplify that. Any question for that? No, I don't think either. Okay, so if you are given a problem like this, let's solve this and let's finish this class today. Okay? Okay, so come on guys, you guys need to help me. Will would like his daughter to attend college in 6 years. So T is 6 when she finishes her high school. Will would like to invest enough money in certificate deposit CD now to pay for his daughter's college expenses. If Will is estimates that he will need, so A is $30,000 in 6 years. How much should he invest now in a CD that has a rate 2.5% or 0.025? Compounded quarterly, so we know that N will be 4, right? So even if you don't remember to find P, we know how to find A. So use that formula because I don't want to remember too many formulas. So 1 plus R over N to the NT. Let's use this one. Just plug it in. What is A? $30,000, yeah. What is P? We don't know. We need to figure it out. How about R? 0.025 over N, 4 times P, 6, 24. So use that calculator. So 30,000 is equal to P 4.025 over 4 to the 24. So what do we get here? We have 4.025 divided by 4 to the 24th power. I have 1.161292 . Same thing? So how do we find P? You can just divide both by what? That number. 1292, da, 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 da. You do the same thing here, then you want to find P, which is 30,000 divided by 1.1612. The wrong number. 30,000. Did anybody find the answer? What did you get? Did you get this number?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's how much you're gonna put in. So you need to have $25,833. And if you round that, it's about 30 cents, right? That's the principal you have. Does it make sense? Okay, so if you have an aiming goal, you can also find how much you have to pay. You have to invest as well. Okay. So that's it, and that's it for chapter 10. We're not doing so much in chapter 10. So we're gonna have test on Wednesday. That means on Monday we're gonna have the chapter review. So instead of meeting here, we will meet in the computer lab on Mondays and Wednesdays. Okay? And of course you have homework to do. So keep an eye on the my math lab. And let me know if you have any question. There's a button asking for the instructor or something like that. Okay, so if you get stuck, please let me know. And have a great weekend, guys.